Thank you.
All good.
Yeah, feel free to take photos.
Yeah, just a little bit of video.
I'll even tell you the story and the people in the pictures. Or tell you my story, whichever one you find more interesting.
Do you mind being recorded?
No, I don't mind.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What's your story?
My story is, my name is Samantha Wayman, and my father's name is Brian Wayman. He was the youngest son of Margaret, or Marge as she was known, Marge Barlow, who was the youngest daughter of, her name was either Marilyn or Evelyn Barlow, and she escaped the genocide of Tasmania and made it to the Hillsville mountain ranges, where she camped with William Barrick. And William Barrick used to traverse from the ranges down to Old Parliament House at the top of Collins Street and try and negotiate with the English establishment to let them come back to their land, which wasn't Marilyn or Evelyn's land, but it was his land. He was a Melbourne Aboriginal, came from, this beautiful land that was once all water. So their 9 daughters became the original Aboriginals of Campbell Street, Collingwood, and they all married Irishmen and had children. And Marge married a man by the name of Bruce Wayman, who was an Irish, he actually had polio and was left with a woman called Wayman in Richmond. So his heritage was unknown, but clearly he looked like an Irishman, so we'll just assume he was Irish. He was an orphan, but he had a car, so Marge, I'm sure Marge married him so she could keep on going back to those mountains, and my dad used to tell me that they were up on the mountains all the time, where he learned how to hunt traditionally and all the rest of it, and I got to see that for the first 6 years of my life, and then my parents disappeared. Where did they go? Who knows? Now, I ended up getting raised by people who took on my parents' identity, and people will say, what the heck are you talking about? It's called the Royal Incognito. I always use James Packer as a great example, because James Packer proved to the world that they do it. Remember when James Packer was on the front page of every newspaper for fighting with Kim Gyngell out the front of his Double Bay mansion? Because Kim Gyngell knew it wasn't James Packer. Hence why he had a big tussle with him. He wasn't letting this look-alike come in. And then you had the security guard at Crown Casino who wouldn't let James Packer in. The narrative was that he wouldn't let him in because he was wearing thongs and a short. They wouldn't admit that the security guard said, you're clearly not James Packer, I'm not letting you in, because they had the bits in. Going on. The Royal Incognito. James Packer hasn't got off his ocean liner in 8 years because he's fucking terrified that they're going to knock him. Why are they going to knock him? It's either for the movie The Revenant, where he sticks up for the half-caste, blowing their whole narrative that they've got this whole issue with the half-caste, and where the ravers of the half-caste all get murdered at the end of the movie. I think they were all deeply offended by that, since they murdered all the Aboriginal people. So anyway, I went through the whole MK Ultra, brainwashing, ritual, torture, abuse. Now, there's a woman on the internet who tells the story quite eloquently and tells it well, which is Fiona Barnett, but she's a gatekeeper. She's a complete liar. When I tried to contact her, she told me I was a fucking pedophile and said that she wouldn't speak to me and had me completely banned from her page. She's what they call a gatekeeper. Okay. So she brings forward any victims that have survived so they know who's talking. So the story is still true. It's just that it's a liberal party that are primarily the Freemasons. Hence the word liberal meaning free. If you join the dots, it's all, you can see it all, So I was brainwashed, tortured. They pulled out like half my teeth when I was 10 years old just to fuck up my features, cut my face. They used to throw nets on me and shit and piss on me. These are the richest people in Australia that were doing these things. And it was mainly in churches that these rituals would take place. There was a house on Yarra Street in Lilydale where a lot of brainwashing stuff used to go on. And in my adult life, they threw me in a psych ward at 17 and gave me electric shock treatment, which was to help, they call it, what do they call it, bias, confirmation bias.
Yeah.
So if they can make a storyline behind you that confirms what they're trying to say about you. So they say, if I talk about any of this, I'm crazy. Confirmation bias is that I was in a psych ward when I was 17, which proves that I'm crazy. Right. So it's always this confirmation bias. So not only am I crazy, they also wanted me to be criminal, right? So if you look up, and it's not on the news anymore, for whatever reason they wiped it off the internet. Now if you look up my name, all you'll find is me being a missing person about 4 years ago when I started running, and so I've been homeless for 4 years.
Okay.
I ended up in the news as a missing person because they lost me for 4 hours. But
Yeah, I've been a missing person before as well.
yeah, but who was I missing from? I was just missing from them, they couldn't find me for 4 hours.
Yeah, makes no sense.
But I also ended up on the front page of the Herald Scum back in 93 for escaping a prison ban. They made out like I was some fucking hardcore criminal, when the truth was they left the door open, and I got out on the journey to the women's prison because clearly I didn't want to go to jail. You know, I hadn't done anything wrong. They had me on a trumped up shoplifting charge. So then I'm this, hardcore escapee that's kicked in a prison van door. I mean, look at me. And that's been the narrative. Criminal or insane, criminal or insane. That way every time I speak about what's happened to me and what's happened to my family, they can just shut it down as a talk of an insane woman. But that's my story in a nutshell.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. We only just met. I've been at the protest down at the gardens and was just hanging back and talking with someone there for quite a long time, and then come
now
back
that
here.
Everybody's losing their rights and seeing how corrupt this government is, my story gets that little bit more plausible to the everyday man, and I think if there ever be a time that I can tell it and people are actually going to listen and not shut me down, is in this environment.
Now's the time, I think, for that. Because I've listened to what you just said, and it's
plausible now, isn't it?
It's absolutely plausible, and it's also terrifying. And my heart breaks for you to have to live through that.
The fact that they're willing to vaccine everybody's children also proves that they have no love for children. They don't care.
It was never about health, and there's so many more people now that are switching on to the fact that they're coming after the kids. And it's just not on. It's not happening. We can't let that happen. They're not at risk from any of this. They're absolutely not at risk.
Well, how was it?
And so it can't be justified.
They have to wear a mask,
right?
But they have to get a COVID shot.
Exactly right. Doesn't make any sense.
No.
So I think it's all falling apart slowly but surely, and we just got to keep the pressure on and stay strong, right?
Or at least remain the group of good guys, Don't accidentally slip over that line, and it's so easy just to give up. So might as well join the bastards, and I think that's what most people have done for most of their lives, because it was just easier. Now that they're threatening people's health, livelihoods, it's people are starting to realise there's something going on when the government clearly doesn't give a shit. Let's hope there's a change.
There is.
Let's hope you post that online.
Thank you so much.